this week's food win of the week is Willy Wonka versus Steve-O.
You know what we didn't decide is if we were going to go, was which Willy Wonka we were going to go with.
Are
we going OG
Willy Wonka,
Johnny Depp or,
no, we're going OG.
or Timmy Chalamet?
We're going, is that OG, Timmy Chalamet?
No, that's Gene Wilder.
Oh, I don't fucking know.
Timothy Chalamet is like...
I don't know who that is.
He's like starred in Dune. He's like a very popular young actor these days.
Yeah,
but
that's the newest one then.
Yeah, he's going to be... They're doing like a prequel to Willy Wonka's story.
Oh, so it's not even out yet?
No.
Oh, so
we're going with Gene Wilder, original Willy Wonka.
Gene Wilder, original Willy Wonka.
And that guy's got some fire.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of an angry
I'll say
dude.
right off the top, and then Emily kind of brought this up before the show. Like, I think in general, Willy Wonka is scary. Like, he's a scary guy.
That movie terrified me as a kid.
He's a very, he's very peculiar.
He's a different kind of crazy, and crazy is always entertaining, but has that X factor where it's just a wild card. You have no fucking clue what he's about to pop off and do next. And on top of that, the man's got resources, and he's got henchmen.
Yeah.
But perhaps that's a detriment, because if we're talking one-on-one, mano-a-mano, Willy Wonka's so used to putting his feet up all the time and, having these other guys do the work for him.
But let me compare them in two ways, because once that came up, I was about to say this is advantage Steve-O, but I actually think that they both deal with this in the same boat. Like, one thing that's always fascinated me about Jackass, and I feel like the guys have done interviews about it before, but the one reason that I could never contend on Jackass, and it's not because I wouldn't want to do the skits, it's because of what goes on in between the skits. Like, how are you not constantly anxious that somebody's going to come up to you and just tase you from behind when you're taking a nap, or you know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't be able to sleep
throw
in
you
that
in. Like, I couldn't do it, and that is something that those guys have just become content with. Like, they can be sleeping in their own bed, and somebody will walk into their room and start shooting Roman candles at them. Like, nothing is off limits to those guys, and they have to be ready at all times. And not necessarily be ready, but be okay with it when it happens. Because they'll get mad. So there's so much unpredictability in their lives, which is an advantage when you're talking about fighting somebody, probably especially somebody as odd as Willy Wonka. But I think that Willy Wonka probably deals with a lot of that as well, because Oompa Loompas, as we know, are little shitheads. And I think Willy Wonka has a good grasp on them and can not control them, but they respect him in a sense. But there's no way that just because there's not kids in the factory that Oompa Loompas aren't up to no good all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we compared Oompa Loompas to Sour Patch Kids. We did that as the Who Would Win of the Week. I think they're very Sour Patch Kid-esque, but without the sweetness. Right? Like, they do stuff, and then they go back to being normal, but they're not apologizing for the stuff that they do.
Right.
It's Steve-O and Willy Wonka live very similar lives.
So you're making me flip-flop now, because at first I was going to go Willy Wonka on this, just because he's batshit crazy, he's got the resources, he could pull out some shit that you wouldn't be expecting. But when you lay it out like that, the guys from Jackass especially, they've taken some damage. I mean, that they can really take their pain tolerance is up there.
It's unbelievable.
I feel like the two of them at it would be like watching Homer Simpson or Rocky in a boxing match where they just keep getting hit and nothing happens to them,
right.
Versus I think this one really comes down to not who can lay out more damage, but who can actually take damage. And I think that Steve-O can, and I don't think Willy Wonka can.
What, though? Yeah. I think that Willy Wonka has enough of a screw loose where he's not far off. And the other thing about Willy Wonka is not only is his life unpredictable, but he's unpredictable. I don't know if you're a TikTok guy. I know Andrew's not much of a TikTok guy, but I hope Emily gets this reference. Those TikToks that are like never let anybody see what's coming. Do you know what I'm talking about? And they just do crazy shit. Have you ever seen this trend?
I don't think so.
It's very it's very dumb, but it'll be people people being like, never let him know like what your next move is, and they'll just do like crazy stuff. Like they'll go to get out their driver's side door, and then they'll like climb through their trunk and get out their trunk and put down a skateboard and like act like they're about to jump on it, and then like drop down and start doing push. You know what I mean? Like just dumb shit like that. That's how Willy Wonka operates. He never wants anybody to know what his next move is. He probably doesn't even know what his next move is. He is as unpredictable as the life that he lives in. Now,
but like
that
you
ties
said,
into Steve-O being comfortable in a situation.
Yeah, those jackass guys, they live in unpredictability.
So I kind of talked myself into. Yeah, I kind of
well,
swindled
I
myself.
think no matter what point you make about Willy Wonka, you will find a way to round it back to Steve-O, because you said you use the term crazy and entertaining when describing Willy Wonka, but who is more crazy and entertaining than Steve-O? I don't think anybody.
And like Steve-O has pain tolerances. His pain like he has done some ridiculous stuff. Like have you ever seen honestly, you want to know why Steve-O gets the win? Have you ever seen the Jackass clip where he fucking by himself puts that giant ass hook through his mouth and jumps
Jackass
in the ocean? Mm-hmm. Like, what the fuck? That had
crazy.
To be.
He almost lost his foot
because of that.
Yeah, he's said it on his podcast like a bunch about that stunt in particular. Like because in the movie, there's this shark coming up to him and he kicks it.
Oh yeah, he does kick it.
They were out in the middle of the ocean. They had no plan for what would happen if he got bit.
Of course they didn't.
They just got lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's what I mean. Like how? Yeah. So I'm kind of on board with how does Steve-O lose?
And the thing is, Emily and I were talking about Steve-O earlier, and she said, "What did you say? All the Jackass guys have been on record saying like, we don't know how to fight, but we can take a lot of pain," and that's what I think proved your point exactly.
Okay, so then to that point though, yeah, they can take a lot of pain, but one thing that Willy Wonka doesn't lack is energy. Okay. So I guess it could come down to how much pain can Steve-O take, because does Willy Wonka ever run out of the juice to keep feeding Steve-O?
And can Steve-O lay down any damage in the first place?
I mean, I think he could do a little something.
Now I've seen him play tetherball with a bee's nest, and he didn't make a ton of contact. I don't know.
I have to think this one over real quick.
Yeah. Make sure. Yeah, get what you need in you and think this one over. And we'll go a long way around the table. We'll let you vote last.
All right.
Will you just bump over them?
Oh my God, this way?
No, the mic arm.
This.
It's
this
blocking
one?
your face a little bit.
Like that?
You can just.
There you go.
Okay.
I could do this.
That's worse.
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I lost my train of thought now.
Going in a circle.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Steve-O, Willy Wonka. I'm gonna pick Steve-O. I just think that but I don't know how he necessarily defeats Willy Wonka. But I would assume that Willy Wonka is a guy who has never been punched in the face. Yeah. So I think that's what'll lock. I don't. Will Steve-O land a lot of violent shots? Maybe not. But will it take a lot of violent shots? Also, probably not. So I'm gonna go with Steve-O here, based off of unpredictability. I think Willy Wonka is a good match. Like, would win a lot of fights. I think that his level of unpredictableness would be something that a lot of people would struggle with. But to Steve-O, nothing would make a difference. Nothing would faze him.
Yeah, I gotta go with Steve-O too. I mean, Willy Wonka's crazy, I think, but nobody out crazy Steve-O.
Yeah. I gotta agree. I'm going with Steve-O on this one, and man, I could only imagine the pay-per-view ticket on this. Like, I would watch that on replay. I mean, that is like the matchup, man.
Yeah.
But I would definitely, I could just see Steve-O pulling out at the end of the day and not being fazed by anything Willy Wonka has to throw at him, and then it would just wear him down eventually. And I just see Willy Wonka as being a little bitch when it actually comes to taking damage. You know, I just don't see it taking too much to like take him down in a sense.
Yeah. I'm on that.
Once you actually get to him, I feel like that would be the tricky part.
Yeah. So we're gonna call that a clean-o sweep, 3-0 Steve-O.